Yo, 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 what is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. We're doing another reaction by a channel called Rigged Economics. So, that does not exactly fill me with hope for what we're going to be talking about in this video. It's going to be about why college degrees are probably worthless, which I already have some theories myself before we even get into the video. I think generally it's a combination of things. I think it's just the fact that obviously college tuition has been rising since the 80s, which has put more people in debt. At the same time, blue collar work has kind of been devalued and it doesn't really get you as much, um, doesn't cover as much cost as it used to. Obviously back in the day, people could live off of a one factory worker's um, salary to raise a family. Obviously, you can't do that anymore. Look at the fact that now since women are also in getting jobs as well, so you've basically doubled the workforce. So that's just more competition. So it's going to be easier for the top brass, the top corporations to just pay everyone less because they have more people that they can use to replace you. So all that good stuff. So that's kind of what I can think of off the top of my head. I'm curious to see what this guy has for us in terms of other reasons why it's probably not as worthful as we want it to be.
A cap and gown, a framed diploma, 4 years, thousands of dollars, and a handshake on graduation day. But 3 months later, the job board's a ghost town. Every listing says 3+ years experience required. Your inbox full of rejections, or worse, silence. In 2025, 41% of grads in their 20s are working jobs that don't need a degree. Baristas with business majors, data scientists driving Ubers. This isn't personal failure, it's a structural mismatch.
Yeah, sorry, I'm going to probably interrupt you a lot. I know I've read an article about how um, part of the reason why the entry level positions are just so scarce is because a lot of people with advanced degrees are the ones applying for these entry level jobs due to the overall job scarcity. So, it's just one of those things too where everyone's trying to get a piece of that tiny ass pie, and you know when that happens, someone's got to go hungry. And oftentimes, right, if you're at a table and you're the little kid who can't reach for the pie first, if no one wants to give you any piece, shit's gonna be tough.
College used to be the clearest path to stability, but that promise, it's starting to slip away. We're producing a surplus of educated labor for a market that no longer knows what to do with it. So how did we get here? Why are graduates locked out of the very careers they trained for? Does one getting more degrees fix the problem or make it worse? And most importantly, how is this underemployment crisis reshaping our economy? And what does education even mean today? Welcome to the era of degreeflation. For decades, we were told the formula: go to school, get a degree, land a career, succeed. It wasn't just advice, it was a cultural script. In the post-World War II era, a college degree did indeed lead to upward mobility. In the US, college grads earned significantly more than non-grads, and that gap widened for years. But then something changed. Between 2000 and 2025, the number of degree holders increased significantly. Globally, the number of tertiary graduates more than doubled, according to UNESCO data. Bachelor's degrees became the new high school diploma.
I think this is because with the advent of better tech, right? Like the internet became more advanced and worldwide. It just became easier to get education, like get educated, right? Like it became easier to be informed. Now, I don't know whether or not people have been informing themselves properly. That's a different discussion altogether. But right, it becomes easier for schools to offer like online classes. Um, becomes easier for it makes the world smaller, so people from all over they feel like they can go to different schools because they've just heard of them. As opposed to back in the day where you're kind of just really um, limited by your either your environment or who you know, right? So I think that's probably been the biggest reason why there's been like a boom in degrees.
And as supply went up, the value began to erode. Economists call this credential inflation. Over time, employers steadily raised the bar. Roles that once needed only a high school diploma began to require a bachelor's, then a master's, then 3 years of experience too. For many first-time job seekers, this expectation felt not just unrealistic, but borderline absurd. The degree became a filter, not a guarantee. At the same time, the cost of that degree exploded. US tuition tripled in real terms since the 1980s. Student debt soared past $1.7 trillion. Yet the return on investment varies drastically by field. Computer science and engineering degrees still offer strong income potential, while degrees in the humanities, arts, or social sciences often yield far lower salaries, making it harder to recoup the cost of education, especially with rising living expenses. Meanwhile, employers are rethinking their hiring criteria. Many major companies, including Google, Apple, and IBM, have begun dropping degree requirements for certain roles, prioritizing skills-based hiring instead. This shift reflects a growing recognition that traditional education isn't the only path to professional competence. So we have more people taking on more debt for credentials that are increasingly treated as just the baseline. But how did the job market shrink beneath us? Where did all the entry-level jobs go? Between 2020 and 2025, something else accelerated the crisis: automation, remote work, and post-COVID cost-cutting. Many companies slashed junior roles to save costs, or replaced them with software, interns, or outsourced labor. The rise of AI tools made it easier to cut support staff, admin.
That's that capitalism, man. I mean, at the end of the day, like the guy's saying, right? If you're looking top down, and you are owning a corporation, and if you're trying to maximize profits, I mean, the easiest thing to do is to cut the losses where you feel like you can replace them. Like I've seen this before, especially because my mom, she used to be an accountant for um a big insurance company, and you know she was there was a point where like basically everyone in her that was above her in terms of like bosses, they were just getting cut, because they didn't want to pay their pension, or because they felt like they could save money if they just cut the role and then gave it to somebody else and added on to what they're already doing while not paying them anymore, right? So they basically just want to squeeze as much value as they can out of the limited workers they were going to keep, right, to keep their profits high. So, you know, you're gonna like I would expect that kind of thought process to permeate pretty much any industry that it can get away within. So I'm not too surprised at that. And obviously, what COVID did financially probably, like he said, accelerated that thought process even more.
Assistants, and junior creatives. The roles that used to be stepping stones simply vanished. Then came the paradox: jobs labeled entry level now require 2-3 years of experience. Internships became unpaid or disappeared. According to data from Handshake, internship postings declined by over 15% between 2023 and 2025. It's a ladder with no bottom rung. Meanwhile, global competition for jobs intensified. Remote-first workforces meant that a graduate in the US, UK, or Canada wasn't just competing with local peers, but with equally skilled applicants across the world, often willing to work for less. Add to that older generations who are delaying retirement due to economic uncertainty, high living costs, and post-pandemic instability. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics reports that labor force participation for workers aged 65 and older has nearly doubled since 1990. You have a clogged labor funnel, with fewer openings and more people trying to squeeze through. And while the market tightened, the graduate pipeline kept flowing. Many industries are also consolidating. Big tech, finance, media, and consulting have all seen mass layoffs in recent years, especially among junior roles. So what happens when a generation does everything right and still gets shut out? Is more education the solution, or just a deeper hole? Faced with rejection, many grads return to school. A master's degree feels like a logical next step. More credentials, more chances, right? According to the Wall Street Journal, 23% of Harvard MBA graduates were still job hunting 3 months after graduation in 2024. That's the Ivy League, and the numbers are worse further down the prestige ladder. We're witnessing a credential arms race. A report from the National Center for Education Statistics shows that the number of master's degrees awarded in the U.S. has increased by over 60% since 2000. Yet wage growth for those degrees has not kept pace, especially in fields outside of tech and healthcare. And in the middle of it, thousands of Gen Z grads are taking on more debt just to delay underemployment. This isn't just an economic loop, it's an emotional one. Students are taught to believe that if you're not succeeding, you simply need to study harder, get more credentials, and be more competitive. But when structural forces are the real barrier, this mindset leads to burnout, self-blame, and mental health crises. So what happens to mental health, ambition, and identity in that kind of loop?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely harder to stay motivated, right? Like, because especially as humans, we're goal oriented beings, right? Like, I think people are willing to work hard if they feel like that hard work that they're doing is actually going to pay off in some way. So, right, it's a lot harder to walk a path in the dark because you don't know where you're going, right? And then you're doubly so if that same path is also filled with traps designed to impede you because you can't even see them coming as well. So I don't know. I don't mean so. Yeah, I does feel like on the mental side, I wouldn't be surprised if it takes a toll on this generation. But I guess it's more so a matter of how exactly are we going to fix that.
What is this doing to young people? When you spend your life believing a degree is the key to success and it doesn't open any doors, you don't just feel disappointed, you feel lied to. Many young people describe a sense of post-graduation collapse. Surveys by the American Psychological Association show rising rates of anxiety and depression among young adults, particularly recent graduates. After all, if your degree doesn't lead anywhere, what was the point? This isn't just about money. It's about meaning. Some give up and accept jobs that underpay and underuse them. Others retreat into gig work or go back to school again. A few try to launch something on their own, freelance, startups, side hustles, but most feel stuck. According to a 2023 Strata Education Network report, only about 26% of graduates believe their education is directly relevant to their work. This disconnect is fueling disillusionment, particularly among those with liberal arts or general studies backgrounds, trapped in a system that overpromised and underdelivered. And the generational trust gap is widening. Many parents and older mentors struggle to understand why their children, who did everything right, aren't finding footing. After all, it worked for them. Is it time to ask a bigger question? What is the purpose of college in 2025?
Yeah, I think that's definitely. So I really like what he said about the older generation just not really having the same perspective as our generation does, which of course makes sense, right? Like you're only really informed by your experiences and the environment around you. And when you live in an environment where, you go from competing against Bob down the street or Sally across the city to freaking, I don't know, Rahil in India or Lee in China or something, or Korea or something like that, you obviously, like you said, have way more competition and jobs are much less incentivized to want to hire your ass. And really deep in it, the only real sectors that you could probably say are like safe from that kind of thing would be service jobs and like healthcare, because like you need to be there to in order to fulfill the functions. So in terms of what is the purpose of college in 2025, I think honestly people like college is still good, especially because you need to be able to network and find that experience. I think if you really want to, honestly, I think if you want to optimize college in this current climate that we're in, you need to start getting experiences early and earlier, which as unfair as that is, right? Like you need to be able to find that internship or, go to pretty much every networking event, because at this point it's more so about getting yourself in the door, right? Like because the thing with careers is it's more of like a snowball effect, right? You start a small job, theoretically you work well in that job, you prove yourself to be better, and then you go up from there. So it's really about finding that first step, and any way you can get that first step into the door to start building a career in whatever sector or whatever industry you're looking for. I think that's probably the most important thing. Now, does college absolutely necessary to do that? Maybe, maybe not. And I think that is more so what needs to be figured out. And I mean, you have online for that, right? Like there's LinkedIn, there's Indeed, there's plenty of different forums and all these things that you can use to really network with people. But I think that is priority number one in this job market because, like you said, these motherfuckers are not looking to hire you anyway. So you need to find an entry point into the door. There's a barrier, but barriers still have holes in them, and you need to be able to squeeze through. So that would be what I'd have to say. But this is a good video. I'm gonna link the original in the comment below. And if you liked it, please subscribe to the channel. And most importantly, remember to have a good day.